the June Rochelle podcast.
It's time to be encouraged. It's time to believe in yourself. Affirmations for African American women. Affirmations for African American women.
Today we'll deal with microaggressions, jealousy, and cronyism in the workplace and what you can do about it. Your affirmations will run at the end of the segment. Microaggressions are some of the most subtle flea bites, and I said that, flea bites. You ever been bit by a flea? It's very irritating. It's often itching, and you never know when that itching is going to flare up. You never know if you're going to be at a restaurant or if you're going to be out on a dinner date or in a meeting, but the itch is real. Now, as African American women, we often get these flea bites at work. They are subtle but negative and often public comments about our work ethic, physically disrupting your workspace, moving things around or leaving things out of order around your desk or area. When you come into work, you see that things are displaced or something is amiss, spying on emails or communication, and sabotaging your work, which can also mean taking credit or stealing your ideas. Negative comments seem to be the most prevalent. The usual is asking, "What are you doing?" implying that you're not working, which is a stereotype about African Americans that they are lazy, which is anything but the truth. African American men and women are some of the most hardest working people in any corporation. And it's not that we are less than, it's that we have to work harder just to be considered equal, adequate, and competent. I can think of times when I would come to work and a Kleenex box was knocked over every day, or something was out of order. A office drawer was pulled out and sitting in the middle of the floor with no notice or note on it, where I had to send out a mass message as to who was the culprit in leaving this huge office drawer, which was clearly a hazard not only to myself but to other coworkers, in the middle of the floor of my office. And there was once an event where I happened to go into the restroom and I came out, and a table that I was managing, there was someone who was taking the pins that were placed very nicely on the table and picking them up and throwing them across the table with a smirk on her face. These are organic situations that you may walk into or that you may see, but they are microaggressions. Microaggressions erode trust on the job, and there is nothing more stressful than spending 8 hours a day with people you don't trust. So next we're going to talk about another type of issue that happens on the job, and that's jealousy. Now, I'm not going to say that jealousy is specific to any particular race or class, but I'm going to talk about the jealousy of non-Black coworkers against African American coworkers. But I find a connection between the microaggressions and jealousy and cronyism. Jealousy is very subtle, but it's rooted in the lack of self-esteem of the coworker. One of the top ways a jealous coworker or supervisor illustrates their jealousy of you is keeping you out of the loop of important information and deadlines. Now, silos are also responsible for this type of communication, but it does happen when you have a jealous coworker. They may withhold data that you need to do your job correctly, or delay. I like the delay. I like to use the delay tactic as a way of illustrating jealousy, because when a person is jealous of you and they delay giving you information or data, it's going to reflect on how you do your job and how others in the organization see that you do your job, hence reinforcing the stereotypes that Black people are late and lazy. According to Essence magazine, it's unhealthy to spend time trying to make coworkers like you, especially if you're African American. So once you uncover the various things that are occurring in your organization, Stop trying to make your coworkers like you. Focus on doing your job well, and being respectful, even in the face of disrespect. The next topic I want to talk about is cronyism. Cronyism affects African American women, and usually microaggressions, jealousy, and cronyism run in trios or pairs. So whether it's two bosses, two coworkers, two associates, three associates, there's usually a preacher and a choir to which women in the workplace confirm and consult with each other on their dislike of you. So it starts with one issue with one coworker, and that coworker has to convince her crony friends that you are an issue, and therefore she's got to make sure that they all have a dislike or disdain for you as well. Now, this isn't overt, it's usually covert. In Oxford Languages, cronyism is defined as the appointment of friends and associates to positions of authority without proper regard to their qualifications. Have you ever met anyone on the job that seemed like they were unqualified to do the job that they were doing? And they were friends with others who were in authority that maybe were more qualified, but who had appointed them nonetheless to the position. As an African American woman, on a daily basis, you may deal with three overlapping issues: microaggressions, jealousy, and cronyism. So now that we know what these things are and what they look like and what they sound like, because sister, you are not crazy. These things do happen, but your psychological makeup will have a lot to do with how you respond. So let me give you some tips on how to respond before we get into our affirmations. The first thing I would suggest is to restate or paraphrase if you want to confront it. Confrontation isn't always the best practice, but if you're comfortable, say, "I think I heard you saying," and then repeat whatever the person said. "Is that correct?" Or ask for clarification or more information. "Could you say more about what you mean by that?" Or, "How have you come to think that?" Next, you can acknowledge the feelings behind the statement. I'm not such a huge proponent of expressing empathy and compassion to repeat offenders. However, that is your choice. Or it sounds like you're really frustrated or nervous or angry. And then go ahead and separate the intent from the impact. This is a very good one that I suggest. I know you didn't realize this, but when you said it was hurtful or offensive because, and then you could say, "Instead, you could have presented it to me in this way, which would have been more acceptable to me." Or outright call it what it is. I think that that's a stereotype. I've learned that, and then explain why it's a stereotype, and then move on. Now that we have that out of the way, let's begin our affirmations for African American women. I am grateful for my job. I am grateful for my job. I am grateful for my job. My employer is blessed to have me. My employer is blessed to have me. My employer is blessed to have me. I bring light into the dark places of the company. I bring light into the dark places of the company. I bring light into the dark places of the company. No level of ill will towards me will prosper. No level of ill will towards me will prosper. No level of ill will towards me will prosper. I am not a stereotype. I am not a stereotype. I am not a stereotype. I am a professional, kind person. I am a professional, kind person. I am a professional, kind person. I will not let negative thoughts control me. I will not let negative thoughts control me. I will not let negative thoughts control me. I will keep a positive attitude. 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 I bring value to the company. I bring value to the company. I bring value to the company. I am blessed. I am blessed. I am blessed. And can't nobody do nothing about it. Not near microaggression, not none of those jealous people, and not any of the cronyism will keep me from my dreams and from the good in this life. Thank you so much for tuning in and listening to the June Rochelle podcast, where we are affirming you, African American woman, today. Have a blessed one. The June Rochelle podcast.